Welcome to the Zane Lamprey Show. And Charlie. Charlie's my little puppy here. 5 months old. He's a foster. I think we're going to keep him. Why are you looking at the camera? My guest today is Tuvok. His name is Tim Russ. He played Tuvok on a bunch of Star Trek series. I think most notably, possibly Deep Space Nine. And I had some questions for him about that, but we quickly got into other conversations. And I have to tell you, I really, really enjoyed this conversation with Tim. We talked a lot about things I didn't think we were going to talk about. And it was very, very interesting. Obviously, a very intelligent guy. Emmy's Vulcan, so they're known for being intelligent. But with great stories and very open to talk about anything. So this is my interview with Tim Russ.
1, 2,
Charlie.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Okay. So I put it out to my audience, just as a story. I said, do you have any questions for Tim Russ? Expecting them to have some Star Trek questions.
Yeah.
None of them did. They all wanted to talk about your quintessential movie line, which I didn't even realize was you, which is, "We ain't found shit," from Spaceballs.
That's right.
And I heard you talking earlier in an interview saying that more people talk about that, or what was it?
Yeah, more people know about that feature film, just one line.
No,
four
from
words.
that.
Yeah, from that than they do on Voyager.
But it's like those 4 words put in that order. If you say it, they know exactly what you're talking about. It's Spaceballs.
They know where it's from. Yes.
You are you happy that that the younger generation don't know what Spaceballs? So they stop saying it to you?
Well, the thing about it is that their parents are introducing them to Spaceballs.
Yeah,
they're all watching that. Yeah. So there's quite a few people, even young people, that are aware of Spaceballs.
Yeah, yeah.
And because it's a meme everywhere as well.
Yeah.
So, having worked on it, it was just a day's worth of work for me. It was just a gig.
Yeah.
And
where was it shot?
Shot in Yuma, Arizona.
Wow.
And what looks like the Sahara Desert.
Sure.
I don't know what area it
or
was.
Tatooine. Sorry, no, Star Wars.
And it was hot as blue blazes.
Oh,
and Mel Brooks was there, was directing, and he was a really nice guy.
Yeah.
Sweetheart. And we got in, we shot that thing, got out, and that was it. And I forgot about it,
Yeah.
And 25, 30 years later,
Yeah.
I run into some people on a crew who are talking about Spaceballs.
Yeah.
I was shooting someplace, and it was the crew, and they were just talking. They were going over, laughing and stuff about all the gags. And I told them at the time I was directing this thing, and I told them, yeah, as a matter of fact, I was the one that was combing the desert, and their jaws dropped.
Yeah.
And the next day, they all brought in their, at the time, VHS tapes for me to autograph, because they were that thrilled about that. And that's the first time I realized that it had become a cult classic.
Mm-hmm.
It was, everybody knew about it. And from that time forward, if I go anywhere that I have, there's a picture of it, or I have a picture of it, or whatever, if anybody finds out about that, everybody knows.
Yeah.
This line. Everybody knows that scene.
And there was probably there was a time before the memes where it maybe settled a little bit and then came back.
No, I think it was always there.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that the memes have accelerated it.
Yeah.
It's happened because of social media, the way the things, it's just ramped it. But it was there because when I ran into that crew, I was working on that project, it was 2000, 2002, 2003.
Uh-huh.
That's when I first realized that this thing was, had blown up to a cult project more than anything else.
That's crazy to think that you left the set that day going, all right, well, that's
it.
A few bucks for that, and then you move on.
Yeah, it was a gig, came out, got paid, and forgot all about it.
Mm-hmm.
Literally for over 2 decades.
Oh, right.
And then finally, like I said, it was 2002, 2003, right in that window,
mm-hmm.
when I realized that people really liked, that it was a cult classic. That's what it became.
Mm-hmm.
And it still is.
Yeah.
So,
I didn't even know it, and someone said the line, and I was like, that wasn't him. And then I went and watched it. I'm like, oh, all right.
Yeah,
that was him.
Absolutely. You're not going to be able to tell just by watching it on television.
Got the big helmet on.
Got a helmet on.
Yeah.
So you can't really see my face that well. So you don't know.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's an afterthought for people find out that I was the one that was in it, but it's, there is talk of them doing another one.
Wow, right.
This year sometime. So
To bring back that character, possibly.
more than likely that will probably happen.
That would be amazing.
Yes,
with Mel Brooks, who is, I believe, 140.
90. He's 90, 98, I think. 90, 97, 98. He's up there.
I went and did a dinner. I was working with Merv Griffin's son on something for Merv, this pilot that we made. And we wrapped early, and I got invited over to his house for dinner. Tony Griffin, his mom, was in town, and so they had all these. I mean, it was Mel Brooks and Anne Bancroft and Dom DeLuise and Carl Reiner, all these people,
Goodness.
and like I had no place at that table. I was just there as like Tony's friend, and I'm just taking it in. I'm sitting right next to Alan Alda, and I got Dom DeLuise over here, and it was just them. It was an old group of friends, and. Again, I shouldn't have been there. And Mel is like, so what the hell are you doing here? To me. I mean, in his amazing way. And then he's like, what's your name, Zane? He's like, that's a horrible name. And he just lit me up. And he knew that I was just bathing in it. It was amazing. For him to just make fun of me for having no place at that table for 10 minutes, it was like some of my favorite 10 minutes ever. And that was like, that was probably 20 years ago. And I ran into him like a few years after that and brought it up, and he's like, you still got that dumb name? Something, whatever. He was amazing. He was amazing. So that's great. Wouldn't that be something if that movie were to come back? That's great.
They are sort of in the process of writing it right now. The script is being written.
Wow.
I know that the George, the actor that played his lieutenant, the second in command. I've talked to him personally out of the park, the flea market over here in Laurel.
Okay.
And we are in communication on text as well. And he said, he knows the writers, one of the writers that's working on it, and he said that Mel wants to bring back a lot of the people from the original movie.
Which would be like, Rick Moranis.
Rick Moranis
who's come back into
come out of retirement to do that movie.
Oh, wow. All right. That's pretty cool. That's neat.
I'm just shocked they haven't really done it up to this point.
Yeah. You can't wait too long.
No, you can't. And if anything's going to make money, it's going to be that.
100%.
That's going to make more money than they know what to do with.
Yeah. And especially if they keep that same irreverence. Like, what was the style that was kind of created by him,
Sure. It's a vaudevillian sort of thing. It was pretty broad. And I don't think it was that politically incorrect at the time. It wasn't that dramatic and radical. I think most of those gags were pretty pretty standard, pretty universal. And you can get away with all that.
Yeah. Maybe Blazing Saddles wouldn't,
Blazing Saddles, maybe a couple of moments in there. You couldn't, but I think you could push it a little bit.
Yeah.
Because you're satirizing, I think it's 6 of the Star Wars movies. I think they're gonna encompass the middle 3 and the last 3.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of stuff in there to
for
have
sure.
fun with, man. So.
Yeah, there especially for the prequels, there's a lot of stuff
A lot of stuff to make files. They can have a field day.
Oh my God! So they're not going to. So they wouldn't. Obviously, John Candy, who's basically Chewbacca. Yes. Now they can bring back Jar Jar or something. I don't know.
They'll make fun of him, I'm sure, because everybody else has.
Yeah.
And if they get my character in there, that would be great.
Yeah.
Even if it was, it would be great if it was a run. If it was a runner, it would be even better.
Yeah.
I'd put a running gag all the way through.
Several
times. That would be a thrill.
All you're allowed to do is that line.
Just that line.
Yeah. Just peppered throughout the
movie.
Even if
it's like a non sequitur.
Yeah.
There's nothing to do with what was.
What is he looking for still? Oh my God, that is amazing. That's great. That is information I didn't expect to get. So that's very, very cool. Gives me something to look forward to. What do you think about the Okay, so you did that show. You did that movie. What year was it?
I think that was 1986.
Wow. Okay, and then when did you do Voyager. Voyager wasn't your first Star Trek.
No. I started, the Voyager came in at 94.
Okay.
That's when the series started.
Mm-hmm.
And I worked on the show probably 92, 93. I worked on the other series projects.
DS9?
DS9 and Next Gen, yeah.
Oh, got it.
Yeah.
Okay. It's funny. I've seen all of them, but, there's obviously a lot. But like, I saw them all when they came out, and then when I was able to have them on my phone, it's like when I'm working, I'll just kind of have them on in the background.
Yeah.
And I can loop the whole thing in multiple seasons. What do you think it is about that makes it like that people resonate? They're drawn towards it. It's not everybody.
Nope, it's not everybody.
But when someone is, you either are or you aren't. You're not kinda,
Yeah, it's either it's the stories. If I have to compare it to its counterpart, Star Wars. Star Wars is a lot more. It's good guys and bad guys, and we know who the good guys are. And we know who the bad guys are.
Right.
And each one of them has their objective, and it's pretty clear cut. Star Trek is more about stories that are more intricate, stories that are more about the people, the characters, the crew, the challenges that they face, and the lessons that they learn, the morals that are taught, in a lot of them, and and it's always been a show about social commentary. Roddenberry originally designed it to comment on what was happening in society by using aliens and humans interacting. That was the concept, and it's still the concept. So they open up all those doors. They also, it takes place in the future, and a lot of people, would love to be living in a time where they are not judged by the way they look or how much money they have, et cetera, and just on their character, and you don't have all those other things that are happening. So that more sort of a positive look of the future, feel of what the future would be like. That draws them in, because it's a level playing field. And I think a lot of people that have come up to me personally and said, your character basically saved my character saved their lives. They were on a downward spiral, emotionally or whatever the situation was, and that watching the show and the character brought them out of that, saved them from self-destruction in some cases, which
unless you escape
blows me away. Yeah. And I think that's it. And once that audience is hooked into that concept, man, they're in it, indefinitely. So, and right, it's not a huge number of people. It's just a very specific audience. But that audience is really dedicated, they're enthusiastic, and they're loyal, and that's what it is.
It's also, from what I've seen, it's also kind of a good group of people. It's like nice people.
Yes, and it's also, by example, there's tremendous amount of diversity. There's diversity in that show. And so people who might feel,
and there always has been.
Yeah, left out socially, they may not be as well connected. They may not be as accepted socially in social circles. It might be a rough time in school, that they're sort of outcast. They're sort of don't feel like they belong. That's the kind of people that might gravitate to Trek, because Trek is inclusive. It's diverse.
I think that's, without having thought about it, that's probably what pulled me into it. Right, just like, just being awkward as growing up, or as a boy or whatever it is. And it's just like, oh, this is a world where everyone's kind of like me, or, like I could fit in there. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. There is that magic to it. Again, because it's set in the future, and again, because, the whole format and concept is one of unity and acceptance and diversity. And working things out, as much as possible without a lot of shooting. Yeah. So that is what the draw is for that show. The difficult decisions that the characters have to make in the episodes and things like that, and the lessons that they learn is I think a major thing. To me, it's always been the writing and the stories.
Yeah.
The episodes, how. What concept they may embark upon, and the twists when you think it's going down this road and all of a sudden it's over here. That's not the road. Whatever you thought that was, that's not the case. This is actually what the reality is. And it's just, I mean, to me, that's what's the most interesting about some of those episodes is just that they turn everything on its head.
Yeah. And then there's also a nice resolve usually.
Yeah.
Unless it's the cliffhanger.
Yeah. Generally that we do resolve it. And that's just a standard for, series projects, the stories you gotta give them a decent end, it's gotta be positive when we keep going and whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You do, how many episodes were you shooting in a year?
We did 26.
It's kind of insane.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Because I don't think that there's a show, aside from like a soap opera, I don't think there's any drama or episodic that it comes even close. I don't think that people are doing more than like 12 or 8.
Between 7, 8, and maybe 10.
Yeah.
And they shoot, I think, 10 days per episode. We shot each episode in 7 days.
So you were, how much time did you get off? Like, what was your off season?
Off season was usually in the summer. We got about 2 months, roughly 2 months.
Okay.
Yeah, 2 and change.
Enough time to do projects or just enough time to
you could do projects, but most of the time it was
taking a breath.
Taking a break and not doing anything. Yeah.
How long was the day?
Days were averaging 16 hours.
Really?
Many of those seasons, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Wow. So you'd show up at what time?
Depending upon the like Monday morning was always early, it was 6 o'clock, and we'd be there till 6 or 7 o'clock, sometimes 8 o'clock.
Could you do that these days? Is that?
Yeah, you could, but it's gonna cost a lot of money, for the studio because you're paying overtime.
Would you weren't getting overtime?
We were getting overtime. Everybody's getting overtime.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh yeah. You got paid. It's just that, those days were unbelievably long.
Yeah.
There's 16 hours. I know the first 2 seasons we averaged 16-hour days.
God.
Yeah.
And would you have like do you have a place to go lay down in between?
Oh yeah. Yeah. We have trailers right outside the sound stages.
Yeah.
We shot on Paramount Lot.
Okay.
So all our trailers are right there.
Yeah.
And there were occasions where the actors who had a lot of heavy makeup had to stay in their trailer overnight because that's 2 hours and a half to get it on in the morning. You work 12 hours, 13 hours, whatever it came out to, then another hour and a half to get it off. And then you have a turnaround where you got to be on the set the next day in under 8 hours. So you might as well just stay.
How long did your makeup take?
Mine was only 20 minutes or less.
Yeah.
Because they already had the pieces done,
I can't imagine, so Michael Dorn and then
Dorn,
Phillips.
Ethan Phillips, yep. Anybody with the heavy makeup on it, it's 2 hours.
What do you think? What do you think Michael Dorn's you probably know how long his took.
It's got to be at least an hour and 45, maybe. And they'll get it down as much as possible because they just get used to putting it on. But it's still going to be an hour.
And it's just like. Yeah, you'd rather not be in makeup, but
you'd rather not be.
But it's like it's the gig. Do you want the gig? Exactly. Right. Do you want the gig?
If they approached me about doing a heavy prosthetic right now, I probably wouldn't take it because I'm not really interested in doing that right now.
Right.
But back in the day, sure, if that was the case,
sure, yeah,
I'd take it and be happy with it. But it was miserable. I can tell you that.
Yeah,
it's not a lot of fun.
Do you, and I don't know if this is a question I can ask, do you still get SAG insurance?
Yeah, right now I still get SAG insurance.
Because of projects or residuals? How's that even work?
Yeah, it works with the residuals and working. So you have to work at least once during the year.
Okay.
When you're, between renewals, you have to work at least 1 gig. Doesn't matter how much you make. You got to make 20 cents.
Oh.
It wouldn't matter.
Okay, got it.
But to qualify, you got to work at least 1 gig.
Got it.
And then
you can never really retire if you want to continue to get your medical benefits.
Yeah, you can retire. It's just that you have to shift over to Medicare if you retire.
Right.
And if you want to collect your retirement, pay, as it were, what you've accrued. If you want to draw your retirement, then you lose your medical. So,
SAG insurance, I've gotten it. I think I had it for maybe a 3 or 4 year run.
Yeah.
And there's just nothing like it.
Yeah, it's all right. It's decent enough. It covers a decent amount of stuff. I think that a friend of mine's got Medicare right now, and they say that they've got everything covered, and they have to pay almost nothing out of pocket.
I should switch. My insurance for my wife and I is $1,800 a month. Is that possible?
That's a lot between the two of you.
I think so.
But that's not SAG. That's somebody else.
No, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And when I had SAG, I think it was like $150.
Yeah, it's like $100, 120, 120, something like that. Yeah. Anything outside of that, it's not good until you can get on Medicare, which you got to be 65 to be on. I think is Medicare 65. I don't know if there's something before that. Medi-Cal. I don't know if Medi-Cal is something you can get on before you're 65.
These are a lot of These are conversations that people are having a lot.
Yeah. Do you think? Yeah. Maybe. I don't know. Is it to me?
Do you think that's political? Is it a political conversation?
Well, yes, it is, because here's the thing. I'm a boomer, so I was born in the 50s, and boomers. That's why they call it boomers, because there were so many of us born.
Exactly right.
And all of us in 20 years are going to require operations, medical procedures, assisted living, pharmaceuticals, all that, all at once.
Got it.
In this entire country.
Right.
Millions of us all at the same time.
It's about to come to. It was like the housing crash.
Politically, if you don't have a plan in place right now that can come into fruition 20 years from now to deal with this, there's not going to be anybody around. Like all the kids, the children of these people, if they have them, are going to have their own families. And now they're going to be burdened with taking care of mom and dad.
Yeah.
You see, so that's going to hit. It's going to happen. It's not like
it is, but it's like,
it's
not, it's like, it doesn't have to be, if you're in office, let's say it's the presidency, if you're in office for 4 years, it doesn't really have to be your plan, because you're not going to have to be there for it.
No, it doesn't. It actually needs to be the Congress.
Right.
The Congress is the only one that can do all that shit.
Yeah.
It's not, the president just signs stuff.
Yeah.
It's 5 fingers on a pen. They sign. They can propose, but they can't put the mechanics in place to address that issue when it comes up. So I think Harris had a Medicare plan that was going to expand for seniors now. That's what they were going to put in place, is something for Medicare to expand to seniors, I think, which had to do with assisted living and things like that, which is what you need for what's coming down the line. You're going to have 3 times the medical procedures. You're going to have 100 times the pharmaceuticals that are needed. You're going to have 100 times the assisted living. All that stuff is going to happen at the same time. 20 years from now,
our resources are going to be old people.
It's going to be. When you go, you're going to have airline flights that are nothing but wheelchairs.
Yeah,
it's all just wheelchair flights. That's it.
Yeah. I'm already starting to see it.
You're starting to see it. You're on an airplane right now. How many wheelchairs are lined up in that gantry?
I mean, so in 20 years ago, 1, now 8.
That's right.
Yeah, that's totally. That's today.
That's today.
That's crazy.
You're going to have entire flights, I think.
Yeah,
only for the disabled. Yeah.
I mean, maybe this is just it's our country's way of backpedaling into socialized healthcare. It's just, I think it's inevitable. I mean,
I would like to think so. At some point in time, the government that you pay taxes for and you support and is actually made up theoretically of you, is supposed to be there to fill the gaps that the private corporations and businesses cannot do. That's not what they're signed up to do. So I'll give you an example of what that is all about and how it works. It's a living example. I've been here since 1981. When I got here, you wouldn't be able to see from Hollywood. The hills of Hollywood were just nothing but a haze.
Right.
Smog.
Yeah.
Smog was everywhere.
Yeah.
You could feel it. You could smell it. You could breathe it. It would hurt your eyes. Okay. So that was almost all during the year. And the government said, look, let's put in catalytic converters in. Let's unlead the gas. And a oil company don't want to do that. They fought it tooth and nail. The car companies don't want a catalytic. What? Catalytic, we got to do what? Because that's going to cut into their whatever, right? And they're not going to do that shit. They're never going to do it. If the world was ending because of it, they would still be trying to make money. So the government steps in and says, you got to do this. And then 20 years later, I can see the Hollywood Hills. 20 years later, you don't have the smog we have.
Yeah.
That's the result of the government initiating a policy for climate that affects literally everyone, the rich and the poor, all at the same time in a positive way. That's what government is supposed to do. That's how it's supposed to work.
I wonder how that even happened.
It happened because somebody at the time, they realized that, where people are dying. The air quality was so bad, and a lot of people can't handle that shit. They can't handle that stuff.
I moved here in 96, and it wasn't even bad at that point.
No,
and
it was cleaned up by
I see like pictures and I hear people talking about it, and it's weird because you would think that it would be getting worse.
Yep.
Rather than something that got fixed. It was like they were all set to put in this great, I mean, that was to be determined, but a mass transit system in LA. But it was the tire, gas, and car lobbyists.
They bought up the red cars.
They had red cars. Exactly. They showed why that'd be a bad idea. Just get buses. Here's the data of why buses will work. And here's some money. Here's a vacation,
Oil and gas, man.
Yeah.
Profit, everything corporate, everything profit. And we're up against it right now. We're up against it. We're up against it even more. The oligarchs. There has to be, some concern and some effort to try to deal with this because, their goal is to make money, man. Yeah. It doesn't matter who suffers or what the sacrifices are to anybody else. They are about making money. And that's it, man. Take the healthcare. See, if Medicare was taking care of everyone in health, if you had socialized medicine, if you had the government paying your medical bills, and we're all paying into the Tilly to get the medical care. So if I'm paying in for the kid next door who's got, permanent disability, or this kid over here, or my own kid, whatever, everybody else is paying for all of us, then your cost for Medicare is just going to be operational costs. There's no profit that has to be made. It's just operational costs. Healthcare companies or insurance companies, they make money. They invest your premiums. They invest them. That's how they make billions. Let me ask you, out of all the economic crashes we've had since 2000, since the early 80s and 90s, all the way up to 2008, not one insurance company has gone out of business. Not one.
Is that right?
Large or small.
Yeah.
I can think of. They're all in business.
Yeah.
They're all doing just fine. Even with the disasters that we've had,
right,
they're still doing fine. They don't go out of business, man, because they make money. They are making shit tons of money. And we, are the ones paying it. But when it comes to turning around and having to pay out, that is not what they want to do.
Yeah. Deny.
That's it. That's it. Because
that's how you do it.
It's a corporation.
Yeah.
Corporations are not people. Corporations are corporations. They represent themselves. They make money, profit. Shareholders want their percentage. People who invest in the corp, they own the stocks. They want their percentage.
The problem is that you got a little taste of the future, sir. You saw the way that it could have been. So now you get pulled back here. You'd leave the lot every day and go, oh, all right, this is the real world.
This is the reality, yeah. And I don't know, man, of 200, 300 years from now, if we're gonna make it that far, at the rate we're going,
Well, it'll be different. It'll be different for 50 years from now.
Oh yeah.
When you were working on, this is something I always wondered just about the shows, the series is like, how do you maintain a social life outside of the show? If you were just working, I mean, you were always working, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I had days off, I had the weekends and I had days off. I only shot 5 days a week. So I did have the weekend.
Only 5 16-hour days. All right, Zane, what are you talking about?
And there was weeks when I wasn't that heavy in an episode, so I didn't have to be there every day.
Did they do it on? Did they ever do that on purpose? Give you a break?
No. What happened is we had 9 people in that cast, so they would focus on maybe this character this week and that character this week, and then some weeks it'd be all of us.
Yeah.
So that's how it went. So there were times when I had days off, and
like there would be episodes all about you.
Yep, and that
would give other people
almost every day. Yeah, and everybody else would have a break. Yes, because all they have to do, the contract's going to say 13 out of 13, and so you're going to do, even if you're there to say, he went that away, and that's your day, and you're done.
Got it.
And there were days when I came in literally one day of the whole week.
Got it.
Just had a couple lines, and that's it. And it's good because if you're not in an episode, you don't get residuals for that episode.
Got it.
If you're not on camera. So everybody in their contract had 13 out of 13. So they had to be there, and they could say a line, and they're done.
When you got that gig, so what was the first one that was the gig? Was it Deep Space Nine?
No, as Next Gen.
Next Generation.
Next Generation as a guest spot on it.
Okay. And then, but then when it turned in like a full, when did you know that, or even consider that your life was taking a different trajectory?
Oh, that wouldn't have been until Voyager. Because Voyager was full-time series. The other stuff was just guest stars. But they just came on to do a couple of days or whatever it was on those shows.
Where did you play a non-Vulcan?
Next Gen. And
the movie.
And the movie Generations.
Yeah, got it. Okay. Yeah, got it.
Yeah.
So when you started, did you get cast in Voyager, or did they tell, or did you were you part of them putting that show together?
Yeah, I was cast. I mean, Rick Berman had already talked to me about reading for that.
Like you didn't have to audition.
I did. I came in and read for it.
Okay.
But he already, wanted to bring me in for it anyway. So it was already predetermined that I was going to come in and read for it.
Yeah.
And it was UPN at the time, the Paramount Network, and it just was launching. And we were their anchor show. So when I went in to read for it, those guys, Berman and those guys had, they had a say-so. And most of the say-so about who was going to be on the show and what's going to be going on.
Yeah.
So I didn't have to read for like 30 people. It was just them I went in to read for, and that was it,
They're like, oh, you can still read. You're good.
Yeah. I just came in, I did the bit. They were happy.
Yeah.
And that was the end of that. Yeah.
Did being on Star Trek or maybe Spaceballs lead to your interest in astronomy?
No. Astronomy was separate. I've been in astronomy for 35 years. So I just did that on my own.
So Spaceballs.
No.
So Spaceballs inspired you. Got it.
That would be one sorry ass. It's an inspiration, I'll tell you. I enjoyed, I got interested in space science when I was younger. So that just eventually evolved into being a hands-on participant of the hobby. And
what does it mean when we're saying your interest in astronomy? What does that encompass for you?
That encompasses most of it is optical astronomy, which is you buy the telescopes and you observe the planets, the stars, deep space objects, things like that. Naked eye, not so much photography. It's mostly naked eye. So I've got 6 or 7 telescopes, and you take them out to dark skies. You look for objects in the sky and observe them.
Where do you go?
Well, now if I can,
now you can't go anywhere.
Yeah, it's always the light. And there's a lot of light. I go out to the mountains. I go out to Fraser Park, which is out in the Grapevine.
Oh, yeah. Okay, that makes a lot of sense.
Pretty dark out there. So I go out there for optical astronomy. And now, since the technology has advanced in terms of a consumer technology for telescopes, I've got an imaging telescope that I use now. And that gives me...
What does that mean?
Imaging telescope is one that can, as you look through the eyepiece and the telescope is functioning, it will go to the object and it stacks the light up of these objects that are really faint. And so it allows those objects to get brighter and brighter and brighter, so you can see more detail.
So are you looking at a digital image?
Yeah, it's kind of a digital image. It's basically a projection of what the telescope is collecting as light.
Okay. So what do you look like? Are you looking through an eyepiece?
Yep, through an eyepiece, yeah.
Oh, got it.
Yeah,
okay.
It looks like a regular telescope. It's not that big. It's fairly small, but that's what it is. And that's all the newest technology that's out right now.
Yeah.
And it does it, mine in particular, does it within 3 or 4 minutes. It's very fast.
3 or 4 minutes to do what? To get in it?
To get the image.
To get a still image.
The image that comes out of the eyepiece. You're looking at it in real time.
Okay.
It's just that you're able to see it because of the process of light stacking.
But for the amount of time that it takes to get that information, doesn't the object move?
Yeah, but the telescope tracks everything.
Oh, it tracks it.
Yeah.
Got it.
It'll go to it and it'll track.
Got it.
And it has a catalog built in, so I just have to tell it where to go, and it just goes there and
wow.
locks on. And then I just hit the button to go ahead and stack the light. It also filters all the city lights out, so I can do it in my backyard.
Oh, got it.
I can
really?
Oh yeah, I can see galaxies. I can see nebulas.
When I walk out I'm lucky if I see like 6 stars.
6 stars.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, it'll filter all the city lights out as well.
Wow, just by sitting on it and just waiting.
It has a chip in it that counteracts that light,
Mm-hmm.
and it creates a background that's more contrasty, so that object will stick out. And it's just, they patented this thing 3 or 4 years ago, and now everybody else is doing their own version of it.
So when you were looking up at those stars, what's going on in your brain?
Well, I mean, to me, it's always been fascinating to be able to see objects that are up to 30 million light years away in the eyepiece, and also the most important thing now for me has been the special events that occur.
Okay.
So you've got Mars close approach. When Mars is at its closest approach, you can see the features on the surface of Mars.
Closest approach and what period?
In terms of its orbital period?
Yeah, how long is it?
17 years.
Got it. So this closest it's been in 17 years.
Yeah, it's been twice. I've had 2 chances to look at it. Recently I did, but there was a dust storm on the surface of Mars, so we didn't see anything.
Wow.
But the first time, yes, it was great. It was 17 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So that was fantastic. The collision of the asteroid Shoemaker Levy 9 on Jupiter's surface, I was able to see that through the telescope, which was amazing. This telescope I have now, I've been able to track asteroids.
Wow.
I can track them, and I've also done an occultation, what's called an occultation, for NASA's Lucy mission.
Okay.
They asked us to assist in getting an image of what the asteroid kind of looks like, what the shape of it is. So I did an occultation with the newest telescope that I have.
Wow.
And so to participate in comets, I've shot 2 or 3 comets that have come in, and they're just beautiful.
And you're doing photographs of that?
Yeah, I have images. I can download all those images to the phone, and so I have them.
Have you been to like NASA and stuff?
No, I haven't been to NASA. JPL, yeah.
Do you have interest in going to NASA?
Yeah, at some point in time, I'd like to go there.
I would imagine they would be interested in having you.
Yeah, I've been invited to NASA, and like I said, I have done JPL because it's right up here in Pasadena. NASA I got to make a haul to, but
Yeah.
I got invited down there when I was doing an appearance down there a while back. It was in Houston. I think it was in Houston. But I didn't have time to get to it. It was just didn't have time. But at some point it'll be great.
I did a stand-up show in Cocoa Beach.
Cocoa Beach, yeah.
And I just didn't understand what was going on there. When I was going there, I could have either stayed in Orlando and just commuted in, or I had 3 off days, and I was like, let me see what the rocket schedule is. And it was like every day.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Wow.
And so I was there. There's a Holiday Inn Express that's right there. You walk outside, you can watch it from the parking lot. It's one of the best places to watch it.
Huh.
And you're watching the rocket launch. And I also just didn't understand that like it goes up and then it's so computerized down to like the millisecond, goes up, does its thing, comes back like clockwork, lands.
Yeah.
But it's the biggest event is really when it re-enters the atmosphere.
Right.
I think it was either 2 or 3 just like, door rattling sort of sonic booms.
Yes.
It was
when
amazing.
It comes back. Yes.
When it comes back, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's impressive when it goes up, but it's really, it's really far away.
Yeah.
You can see like the flame of it, this bright, impressive thing. And of course you can hear it.
Uh-huh.
There's a place where you can go around the side, which is, where you've seen in movies and TV where people are all camping out. It's a better place to watch it. But I just want to see one.
Yeah.
I want to see one.
See a launch. Yeah.
I thought it'd be much closer. It was pretty far away, but
Need some binoculars.
you did.
Some binos.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. Here's another question. Someone wrote in this question, and I'll be honest with you, it was me. Okay, so you got to a point, how many words in Klingon did you think that you knew?
I didn't have any words in Klingon.
Ponfar?
I played a Klingon in Deep Space Nine.
Uh-huh.
But there was
I'm sorry, I meant to say Vulcan.
and Vulcan.
Yeah.
Nope. Yeah, just the basic words, the Ponfar
So, like,
and things like that.
So not to a point, because were there ever not conversations that you were having in Klingon with another Klingon or no?
Nope.
Oh wow, okay, got it.
I was all with other humans. So it was never.
Got it.
I was the only Klingon.
Oh,
basically.
sure. When you're on
Yeah.
your mission for, all right.
So that was the only one.
That
And
makes sense.
in Vulcan, just the obvious words. I mean, it is the game, Kalto, there's the other things.
Yeah.
That just because we never, because of the nature of the show and where we weren't back.
Yeah. You were alone.
Home base. We're out in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah,
so there's
right.
no reason for me to use it. And he doesn't have a holodeck program that he deals with. I never got one of those. So that was it. There's not much.
So so the Vulcans' language was probably a lot more developed.
Yes.
And they would have that as opposed to you having to have any sort of, conversation with people.
Yeah. The conversation is going to be in English. I mean, it's not, if I had something where I was on a holodeck program where I was back with my family or something like that, or dealing with other Vulcans. I think I had one episode where I dealt with another Vulcan who was going through Pon farr. And even then, I may have had a phrase or something during our discussion, but it was a very brief discussion, very brief meeting with them, and that was it. So there wasn't really any opportunity to delve into the linguistics and the language of Vulcan and their native tongue. So there wasn't any of that.
I'll tell the person that wrote that question it was a bad question. Even though it was me. All right, last question on sort of that subject. Because you were shooting each episode in 7 days, and you had some pretty hefty dialogue at
From time to time, yes.
How did you memorize that stuff?
For me, it's just repetition. And what happens is that when you are having to do it on a regular basis, it's no different than going to the gym. Your brain just got muscle, gets used, and it starts to get faster and faster and faster. But I don't have photographic memory, which is what I think Katie had. Katie had a photographic memory. And the rest of us didn't have photographic memory either. So we memorized this stuff. It's just by repetition.
Got it.
And it just after a while, it just got easier and easier. And then, of course, they changed the dialogue every freaking day. They
got
rewrites and revisions. So back at that time, they weren't sending them PDF. There was no PDF.
Got it.
They delivered them, hand-delivered them to your door at sometimes 10, 11 o'clock at night.
Here, memorize this.
Yes.
Thanks.
And they were it was all changed. The dial would be changed. And then the next morning, you're in the makeup chair trying to figure out what the changes are. And they wanted it word perfect. So for me, it was just a matter of doing it over and over and over again.
Okay.
Today, depending upon what that role would be and how much I'd have to do, I'd have to gear up for all of that again. If I was to do it like starting this week or next week, I'd have to gear up.
Got it. Okay.
Because I'm not used to memorizing those huge chunks of dialogue all the time. And
you would never it was never written down anywhere for you to be able to see? Or
Oh, yeah. Every once in a while, we could have it right there because the shot's, here and it can look down and see the line. So every once in a while we could paste them up or do something like that.
Yeah.
If it was just something real quick and we didn't have time to look at it, or it was a last minute change, we could do that. And several of us did do that whenever we had the chance to. So, except Katie, she never did.
Really?
No, I don't know.
Superhuman.
Unbelievable, man. Frightening, this woman's brain.
Really?
I don't know what the hell's going on. Yeah. It was scary. How much she didn't even stumble. Like there's not even stumbling. Like
really?
Know the line, but stumble? No stumbling.
Wasn't she? Didn't they recast the original captain?
They never really cast the captain. They just tested them.
Oh, okay.
It's all screen tests.
Oh, got it. I thought there was was it a French woman?
Genevieve Bugeaud. Yes.
Yeah. Did you shoot something with her?
Yeah, we sent her 3 scenes with her. Yeah.
And then am I making this up that she just thought it was going to be too much work, or?
Yeah, she's not going to. She wasn't able to. That just wasn't her thing, man.
Got it.
To do that kind of work, you have to be a technical actor.
Yeah,
it's a technical thing. It's not method.
Yeah,
and you have to.
Oh, I see.
You have to memorize shit tons of dialogue, and and you've got to also appear. She's very, very slight and very frail looking, so she's not. She don't have that captain.
The commanding presence.
Yeah, you got to have that presence, and she just didn't have it.
Yeah.
If she was on the cast as a science officer, medic, doctor, something like that, if she was doing that kind of role, she might fit physically right for that. She could get through that, but not as captain.
Yeah.
And she knew that it wasn't going to happen.
Yeah. Well, it's good to have to know that. We had one of the guests we had on the podcast was Claudia Wells, who played Jennifer in Back to the Future.
Right.
If maybe you know this, but they shot almost the whole movie with Eric Stoltz, and then went back, decided he wasn't right, and then brought in Michael J. Fox to do it. Yeah, he went through this whole thing. It was kind of an urban legend, but then they started releasing the scenes and stuff and showed it. But they just thought that he just didn't have the chemistry, and Tyler, how many weeks did they get into the shooting of it? Like a month or something, right? Something insane.
And then a lot of shooting for them to not be able to figure out that the chemistry. Look at the dailies and couldn't figure that out.
I know, or maybe they were just trying to say like it was going to get better or whatever. He just played it very serious, and they wanted it to be comedic. So
yeah, no, it's not a serious role. It's a fantasy adventure, and
so he one time called up Claudia again, who played Jennifer, and he called up and asked for Jennifer, and she's like, "This is Claudia," and he's like, "I need Jennifer." He was like very, very method. Like once he was cast, he was Marty McFly. Then you talk to him, you needed to call him Marty. He's very young, and I think that they thought, in his mind, he thought that was the way to go about doing it. But I think it was also rubbing people the wrong way, but they, almost got done with it and decided they wanted to redo it. Yeah.
That movie had to take a while to shoot. That is not, they shoot average 2 pages a day on these features, especially that with all that money and all the time, all the whatever.
Yeah.
It's 2 pages a day. It's going to take you 4 months to shoot the damn thing.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
It ain't no, like you might get done in 14 days or 22 days. No, that's going to take a while.
Yeah.
And cost an enormous amount.
Somehow they convinced the powers that be that they,
Wow.
Yeah.
And the powers that be had to sign off on it. I know Spielberg was at the height of his power at the time. So I'm sure he could do whatever in the hell he wanted to do. But somebody had to green light that.
Yeah. But at the end of the day, it turned out to be a good bet.
It was a good gamble. It was a good change. It worked fine.
Yeah.
Fox was perfect for that. I don't know if they considered him if he was in consideration.
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, I don't know that.
Because it would have been more than just Stoltz. It would have been several people in consideration for that role.
Yeah, you can see those audition tapes, but I've never seen the audition tapes for Marty. I've seen Biff. They've released who auditioned for Peter DeLuise and Billy Zane and a few other people. They show that, who auditioned for it. And then also I think the role of the mom. But they did well. They made their money back. They made their money back. Whatever
they lost in shooting, they made it back in
Exactly.
spades.
Exactly.
Not a problem.
Not
a problem.
This is great. I appreciate this. It was I like I said, I kind of, I don't know if I necessarily grew up, but I mean, Star Trek has always been kind of a part of, my personality or whatever it is. And so I was excited that you agreed to come in and chat. And I think it was great to talk that shop, but I think it was more interesting to kind of just connect with you as a person, which that's what I wanted to offer people who were this is just me and you talking. If people are listening in, great. It's fine. This is just for me. So
that's great. It's very cool. I appreciate it. And, I didn't have to drive to Orange County to do it. Then that's all. That's a good thing.
And you get to go home with a cat. So you win. You win. Oh. Cool. By the way, I had two cats. My girlfriend and I, back in the day, I had two cats, and I met LeVar Burton one time. Yeah, I was like, "Hey, I have a cat named after you." He's like, "You have a cat named LeVar Burton?" I was like, "Oh no, it's named after your character." Like, be fine. So
Jordy,
short. I had a Jordy and I had a Wesley.
Oh my God.
Anyway, God. And I actually just told my ex from who I moved out here with, 30 years ago, that you're going to be on the podcast. And she's like, "Wait, why did we never have a cat named Tuvok?" And I go, "Oh, good, there you go." Yeah. There's no chance. There's
still a chance.
It's a good name. You've definitely met someone with a pet named Tuvok.
Yes, I have.
Okay.
It's either been, I think there was a dog that somebody had brought into one of the conventions or something that was Tuvok, and I know that somebody had a kid one of their kids was named after a Trek character. I don't remember which one it was, but
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they did have that.
I had someone that came to one of my stand-up shows, and their dog's name was Zane Lamprey.
Oh, really?
Yeah. That's weird, huh? It's so weird. I'm sitting here talking to your dog. And by the way, the name, it's ethereal. It's not a real thing.
Yeah.
But I'm sitting there petting their dog that has the same name as me or named after me or whatever it is. And there was someone too, and well, they'll know who they are, but I've had people at shows. It's pretty common just because Zane is a unique name. And people were like, we were thinking of what name we should have, and your show was on at the time. And we're like, Zane. And so there's a lot of kids that have the name Zane based off of me being on that show. And I had a show in Pittsburgh last year, and these people said, we named our son after you. His name's Zane. I go, that's amazing. They go, but there's a little bit more to it because our last name is Lampus. So their kid's name is Zane Lampus. I'm Zane Lamprey. They're Zane Lampus. It's just an interesting, it's a very neat, very
well,
neat
at least it's a, for a dog, it's a great name because it's one syllable. So
yeah,
because all you're going to do is shorten it down. When you have an animal that's got 2-syllable name, you're going to shorten it.
Mm-hmm.
So it automatically is short.
Yeah.
And it's a cool name, and really you can grow up without anybody
about Tim
making fun of it. Say Zane, without anybody making fun of it. So you got that because if they're gonna
short enough,
if you're gonna name your kid,
yeah,
first of all, something that's easy to spell,
yeah,
something that nobody can make fun of.
That's right,
right. That's the key.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever that name is, just get it down to
yeah.
That's the trick. And if it's a pet, it's got to be. Typically, especially a dog, it's got to be one syllable because there's going to be one syllable.
Yeah, yeah. It will be. It will be. Whatever it starts as, it will always find its way down to
syllable.
One syllable.
So
yeah.
You might as well just start off with one syllable. Save yourself the grief. And like I said, as a kid, it's the same thing growing up. You got reservation agents that have to get it right and all this other shit.
That's true.
Something that's quick and easy and simple. That's it. I mean.
This is an endorsement for people watching or listening to name your child Zane. I think that's what we're. Is that what we're
talking about?
Is that what we're saying?
Yeah.
Okay, that's it.
If it's a cool name, an extra bonus. Yeah.
Is Zane a cool name?
Zane's a cool name.
There we go.
Cool. Unusual. It's different. Unusual. Simple. Short. And cool.
Perfect.
You can't go wrong, man. Yes, indeed.